7:11 p.m. I will call the Selectmen's meeting to order this evening. This evening, we do have the important task of interviewing the candidates for the position of Chief of Police. We have our first interview scheduled for 7 p.m. We are running a little bit behind schedule. I do see that the first candidate is with us, and if Mr. Boss, Acting Chief Boss, would like to come forward, have a seat. Good evening.
Good evening.
And I just, if I could, just explain the process this evening. Pretty straightforward. We'll give the candidates an opportunity to give an introductory statement about yourself, anything you want to tell us, your background. Then we'll have what I believe or am hoping is going to be a brief question and answer session with you. I mean, we've had the packet, your personnel packet, and we all know you individually, and then give you the opportunity to give a closing statement or any closing remarks that you'd like to give. Okay? Sure. So having Selectman Sad.
Yes, Madam Chair, at this time, I'd like to make a public disclosure, and I would like to read it into the record. And this is addressed to the Town Clerk, Lori A. Kelly, with a copy to the Board of Selectmen and to Town Council. I would like to disclose that one of the police sergeants who has applied for a promotion to Chief of Police in the Oxford Police Department is Sergeant Anthony Sad. The Board of Selectmen, of which I am a member, will be interviewing and then appointing one of the sergeants to the position of chief. I am publicly disclosing, pursuant to the Conflict of Interest Laws, Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, that Anthony Sad is my father's brother's son, which makes him my cousin. It is my intention to participate in this appointing process objectively and without bias. Sincerely, John G. Sad, Selectman.
Thank you for that.
Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. Mr. Boss.
Yes, thank you very much for having me tonight. And obviously, I've been here for quite some time. I've been here since 1974 as a cadet. That's when I started. At 1977, I became a patrolman in town. 1986, I became a sergeant in town. I've been serving as a sergeant since that point until I was appointed provisional police chief in August. I currently live in Charlton. I moved in Charlton in 1991 after living my entire life in Oxford. I am married with 3 beautiful daughters and 2 lovely grandsons. And basically what you see is what you get. I've been here quite some time and very transparent person, and that's about all I have to say. And open it up to all of you.
Thank you for that. Selectman Lamountain.
Thank you. Mike, you were appointed as provisional chief in August, is when you took over the ranks. As acting chief of the Oxford Police Department, what is the most significant change you'd say you made to OPD in the last 6 months, either to policies, procedures, practices, infrastructure?
I think we've made a significant inroads into a couple areas. One thing we want to develop is a training program. My feeling in the department is the highest liability to the town is through improper or lack of training. I think that's probably the utmost thing that I have on the board at the moment. We're working in several programs. Other than that, we're trying to incorporate a MAPS team. We've been in contact with the fire chiefs. We're trying to make some inroads in that way, so we can expand that area of MAPS, basically from its initial, which I thought was a little narrow purview, into something a little bit more expanded where we can get them involved more. We've recently purchased a fingerprint machine, which is now where we have the availability of conducting our fingerprints in the 21st century. We no longer have to take our ink impressions, as they did in the 1800s. We now can do it electronically, and we can find out exactly the person that we arrested is the person pretty much within a matter of minutes now. There are several other programs that we've developed. I'm very interested in the safety officer position. We've had a safety officer, Officer Robbie Picard. We've recently began. We added another safety officer, Officer Carol Knapp. Carol's very interested in working with the seniors in town. I think two of the highest priorities in the town are our children and the seniors. So Officer Picard is really devoted a lot of time and effort, wonderfully so, in developing a safety program for our children, whether it be fingerprinted in the schools or Halloween safety or such things as that. Carol Knapp has recently began coming with me to SALT meetings over at the Senior Center, introduced her a couple weeks ago. She's very enthused about working with the seniors and does a wonderful job with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Coonan.
Thank you. Good evening again, Mike. With the change of leadership, each chief brings a new vision and mission. In my series of questions, I am to ask you your goals and vision for our police department. First of all, some departments have sergeants closer to patrol officers. Others have the sergeant closer to management. Where do you see our sergeants?
Patrol, straight line, first line supervisors for the patrol officers. I think it's very important to be out there on a day-to-day basis, touching base with them, going over on a day, at roll call, going over the things that must be looked into during the day. They have to have an excellent working situation between the patrols and the sergeants. I think we do right now. The only thing I'd like to see more involved is that the sergeants be more first-line supervisors and less an administrative capacity. Command structure, I think, is very important. I think that the command structure should be situated with you have your administrators, your line supervisors, and your patrol officers. I think everything else works on that, whether it's all the programs that you have, anything that you want to start, has to start with a command structure, has to start with the supervisor, an administrator that can formulate policies and procedures down to the first-line supervisors to be administered to by them to the patrol officers.
Thank you. If hired, what would be your first order of business?
Well, I assumed that before that when I took the job, and I talked to you before as provisional, that I would go forward at that point as I was police chief. If I messed up and stepped in it, and I would be told so and I would be let go, but I wasn't going to do anything different then than I would do now. I started some policies, I started some programs that I did back then. I was going to continue with what I was doing, whether it be department meetings, staff meetings, I think are very important. We've begun those. And I really wouldn't do anything different now than I've already started. Like I said, I started then as I would have the job, and then if I didn't get it, I didn't get it, and someone else would step into my place, and that would be perfectly fine.
And last thing, name 3 things that you would or already do now demand of the men and women of the OPD.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I never want our people to lose sight of where they come from, who they're policing. I think it's very important for them to realize that Oxford's still a small town. We want to do big things, but we don't want to lose sight of where we came from. I think that's very important. I think the fact that we are in a small town doesn't preclude us from doing the things such as the bigger cities, Worcester or Boston, or whatever have you. It's just we do it at a smaller scale. I don't want to lose sight of the seniors. I don't want to lose sight of our schools. Our school resource officer, when I was in the court position when we all started this, I'm looking at the school resource officer in a totally different light than I look at it now. I see it as such an important part of our department because he's a liaison between the school department and us. Everything he does is a reflection on the police department. And I want the people to realize, all the other members of the department to realize that everything they do is a reflection on the next person in line, whether it's their brother officer to the right or their brother officer to the left, or he works the night shift or he works the day shift. No matter what they do, they're doing as a unit, they're doing as a group.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Selectman Glant.
With regards to the number of officers in rank, do you feel that Oxford is where we need to be? And if not, what would you change?
As far as the number,
The number in rank.
I truthfully believe that we need an administrative position such as a lieutenant. I think we need 3 sergeants, and I think we need another patrolman.
And that's all. We know all of you. I'm not going to ask any more questions. We know you all. We've got a thick packet on each of you, and that's all, the only question I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Selectman Sad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, my first question has to do with how you would handle a resident that comes up to you. Now, supposing you're the chief of police, and a resident comes up to you and says, I understand that there is talk about the police department getting a new police station. Do we need one? What is your feeling? Do we really need one, chief? Can you explain why we need a new police station?
I would take her on a visit around the police station. It'd be quite obvious to anybody that witnesses the station that we need a new police station. That police station was built in 1971 for the sum of about $164,000 at that time, and it was done so very quickly. It wasn't a lot of thought put into the process because they had to do it quickly because of the fire. Is anything changed between, on any business level that you can ever think of, between 1971 and now that wouldn't need upkeeping at some point? When that police station was built, computers at that point weren't even heard of. It was totally inadequate right now for the wiring, the heating. We spent $1,800 a month in electrical service for that police station. It's a 4,000 square foot station. That's ridiculous. We'd save that money in a police station in a matter of months, for goodness sakes. If you looked around that police station, we have closets being utilized as offices. When I was first there in 1974, when I first walked through the door, there were closets. We had a juvenile cell, we had a female cell, we had 10 police officers at that point, 10 full-time police officers. We currently have 20. There is no separate women's facilities, such as locker facilities. We are totally inadequate as far as our ADA capabilities, as far as, we have one handicap ramp, but there's no handicap accessible bathrooms and things such as that. So, yes, give me 15 minutes looking around the station, I'd convince them that we need a new police station.
Thank you. What would you say is the most important aspect in being the chief of police of the job?
I think the most important aspect is having the trust of your people to be able to work with them to a point where they believe in what you believe. You're all on the same team. They're all team players. That when I go, and I've been amazed since I've been there, the absolute ability for these people, when I talk to them and I ask them for their opinions, that they have opinions like that, and they're very good opinions, and they're so interested in working with you. They're so interested in doing the little things. I've always thought that a police officer will always do police work. There's no doubt. They come out of the academy, they're going to write tickets, they're going to make arrests, they're going to do everything that a police officer does. It's the little things that you try to get them to do, the things that relate to the town of Oxford, the little things that, such as working with the elderly. That when you see somebody on the side of the road, don't drive by them, stop, find out if they're all right. The little things, I think, that you try to impress upon the people in your department to do on a daily basis. They get out, they get their face, and it's beneficial to the department, it's beneficial to the town, and it's certainly beneficial to the people in the town of Oxford. Getting them to realize that there are the little things that are important to being a policeman, not just arresting people and writing tickets.
Okay, my final question, it has to do with communication. Obviously, that's an important factor. When you're dealing with an operation that runs 24/7 without stop, communications is very important. Now, how do you, well, in your case, you've already done it because you're in the position as acting chief. Could you tell me how you communicate with each shift and how that communication continues to grow?
When you can't talk to somebody face-to-face, I've always thought that talking to somebody face-to-face is a lot better. I didn't grow up in the email society. I grew up in a face-to-face conversation. Eye-to-eye, handshake was the way that you did communication. Now, obviously, with emails, you have to, facilitate that or incorporate, that into all forms of communication. In fact, we were talking to the sergeants today about Friday having another staff meeting. We have staff meetings now, they're scheduled staff meetings. We have to have an itinerary ready to go based on each shift's needs. Obviously, right now, we're down a supervisor on the third shift. It makes it a little difficult, and we, and I expressed to the people on the third shift, Officer Knapp is unbelievably taken over, basically the role of the supervisor on that shift. She will be coming to our staff meeting, so it's a give and take. We've got to be able to talk to each shift. Each shift knows the needs of the other, and we can't let, third shift obviously is a very difficult shift. Not many departments have a 24/7 operation, and it's different, as you say. 24/7 is a lot different in communication, and we can't forget the people that work on that shift. So one of the ways we do it is through the staff meetings. Let's get back, find out what's important, communicate with the people on that shift to find out what's important, so they can bring it back to the group, and then we can talk about it amongst the department.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have two brief questions. When you hear the town of Oxford from a word association response, what type of things come to mind? And specifically, what do you think about the town?
I think about the bandstand. I think about Memorial Day Parade. I think about our schools, and I think about all the businesses in town and the different departments that people, last night I came to the planning board, and every single one of them, they're volunteering their time to work for the town, to make it better. You go to the tech review meetings, and you get the people coming in looking for permits and things such as that, and you realize that there are a lot of people out there that are very interested in the town of Oxford, such as we are, and that's what I think. I think about the little things. I think about the senior center. I think about the community center. You think about the sports teams, that's what I think about Oxford, basically.
Very good. And secondly, it touches upon Selectman Sad's question. Do you have a transition plan in place for when and if, and I hope the answer is when, a new police station is built? And if you don't have a plan in place, what types of things would you do to get your department ready for that new venue?
That would be, obviously, talking with Mr. Town Manager, Mr. Zaneski, would formulate that. Working with the town planner right now, like I said, last night we were at the planning board for the hearing, it became obvious that the location is probably the location where it's going to go, that there were no comments last night, very few comments on the location. Working with the town architect on the building, there were a few things that I wanted to change, minor things on the department, of the building itself, the parking situation. The transition we'd have to appoint a transition team, whether it's communications, to go through the important aspects of the move itself, how you go about facilitating the moves, between the communication, keeping up that process, to the equipment that we are going to have to take with us. All that would have to be itemized and take with us. We don't have a team. I have not formulated a transition team at this time, no.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, do you have anything in closing you'd like to say to the board?
I just would like to thank you all very much for the last 6 months. You've been a wonderful board to work with, and whatever happens tonight, I thank you for the time I had here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How does she do it? Somebody should tell Mike he wants to watch. He's a nice guy.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
We have Mr. Hassett with us, and we have, just so everybody knows, the way that we chose the candidates and how they would be interviewed as far as in what order we went alphabetically. So lucky for you, you're not first, you're not last, you're right in the middle. What the process will be essentially is I'm going to open the floor up and give you an opportunity to give an introductory statement about yourself if you'd like to the board, and then I'll open it up to the board for a Q&A. I think the board members each have a couple questions, and then I will give you an opportunity to make a closing statement if you choose.
Thank you.
Okay? So, having said that, if there's anything you'd like to tell us in addition to the packet of information that we've received.
Just thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Okay. Selectman Mountain.
Thank you. Sergeant Hassett, just a quick question for you. If appointed chief, what would be the first change you made to OPD?
I would certainly push, as I know Chief Boss has, for a new police department, like keep that going, the momentum going for that. I think that's very important. And one of the things I would do, and I don't know if it would be a change, it's probably not, but just to have a meeting with everybody, like a department itself and individually with the officers. I believe in that strongly. And once again, I defer to Chief Boss. I know he's done that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Coonan.
Thank you. Good evening, Michael.
I,
The change in leadership, each chief brings a new vision and mission. In my series of questions, I am to ask you about your goals and vision for our police department. First question. Some departments have sergeants closer to patrol officers. Others have the sergeant closer to management. Where do you see your sergeants?
right now, I see the sergeants as basically more with the patrol, certainly accountable to the chief, but as far as like, all patrol sergeants right now, don't have any administrative sergeants. I think that's important. I think the size of our department allows for that to also, report directly to the chief. It's a good relationship, but also like in the morning we have roll call and whatnot. Feel we have a good rapport with the patrolmen, like, and we have patrol sergeants.
Okay, thank you. If hired, what would be your first order of business?
I would just, ask, I have a meeting with the department and ask everybody to please work with me and give me a chance. And, I would tell the officers what I would expect of them, which is professionalism, and to, I would like to meet with them and just to continue to see what their interests are, and to continue what we have right now, which is, I believe, with Chief Boss, good training program, and he's very big into that.
Okay. And lastly, name 3 things you would demand of the men and women of OPD.
Professionalism. I would demand to be, morally correct, ethically correct, and to, once again, defer to professionalism, but the word I'm looking for, just come to work with a positive attitude, and, not always gonna, be able to get, bat 1,000 every day, but do the best you can and be a good listener. I think that's probably the most important thing. When you go on calls, you're representing the Oxford Police Department, the town of Oxford, and, make sure you give people what they deserve. Like, you can't forget who you work for, and to be a good listener.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Glant.
Do you feel that Oxford is where we need to be as far as the number and rank of officers at OPD? If not, why not?
I feel that we're close. I feel we could use possibly another patrol officer. I feel like, a lieutenant, I'd like to see a lieutenant, run operations for the police department. I think we're much closer than we've ever been, which is I think is, a positive step that we've come such a long way. So I don't think we're far off. And I guess in a nutshell, I'd like to see a lieutenant and possibly another patrolman, and after lieutenant, another sergeant.
Why do you feel we need a lieutenant?
I feel a lieutenant, like, would, report directly to the chief and be the liaison with the sergeants. And I know the sergeants right now report to the chief, but it would take some of the impetus off the chief, some of the things where lieutenant could, oversee the department, write grants and things that we, are very important for the future direction and the operation of the police department. Whether it be bike patrol or working with the seniors, like we have to solve, and, other future endeavors. I think that's very important. I think, that's what I would suggest.
Thanks, Mike. That's all I have.
Thank you. Selectman Sad.
My first question is a hypothetical. You are the chief, and a resident of the community comes up to you and says, I understand that the police department is looking to build a new police station. You know, that's going to cost the town a lot of money. It's going to cost me as a taxpayer a lot of money. Do we really need a new police station? How would you respond to that resident?
I would express my concerns, because nobody likes to see their taxes go up, but I would, try to impart to that person that it's, the Oxford Police Department is, we're looking to be even more professional than we are, which I feel we are professional, but I think it's imperative to have the proper police station, the size, like for the equipment, for the officers, for the investigations, the proper, parking spaces for the public to access us. I think that it would help us down the road if we're looking for accreditation, as far as having all the proper equipment and a number of, items in place which might be important. I think that, but with the space needed, whether it be something like people not think of, but even like a gym inside the station where it's important for the officers to try to stay in shape, or even, like from the jail cells, or anything like a juvenile detective division, or like Officer Gannett, the school resource officer, has an office. I just think it's very important that we need to expand, and if we're going to grow any further with future offices and so forth. I understand that, taxpayer, they're not looking to have their taxes raised. I just think, the building itself, we need a new building, because the building we have is just, basically falling apart in certain areas. And I think it's just time, for us to move forward.
Okay. What would you say is the most important aspect of the job as chief?
Professionalism, fairness. I think you need fairness, consistency, ethically, morally, you need to be professional, and I think you need to tell people what's expected of them. I think probably the most important thing, though, is fairness.
Okay. My final question, how would you communicate with all shifts? As you know, you operate 24/7, and it's a continual operation. You got 3 shifts. How would you, as chief, communicate with those 3 shifts?
Well, I would at least once a month have a staff meeting with the management, but also periodically I would, with the hours anyways, I would see my day shift, and I believe our department, the size of it, allows the chief to interact with the men, see how things are going and whatnot. Also, it leads into the second shift, which is a good thing to see how things are going with the guys, visit with them, and then I certainly would, no question, come on third shift once in a while, and and I would communicate with the third shift supervisor. I might not see them as much, but through email, or I would definitely, stop in and see how things are going, and like to meet with the people. I think that, the size of our town and so forth, this isn't Boston or Worcester, I think it allows us to do that. I think it's important to get a pulse, keep a pulse on things.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just have 2 brief questions. 2 brief questions, and the first one is a word association question. When you think of the town of Oxford, what comes to mind? What do you think about?
Community, I think, it's not in word, but a nice family town. I think it's, jump ahead a little bit, it's a great town for my kids to live in, to be raised in. I think it's a nice town. I think it's vintage New England. I think they're just nice people.
Thank you. And secondly, we talked about the new police station. You've mentioned it a few times. Do you have a transition plan to take the department into the new building if and when it is built? And if you don't have a transition plan at this time, what would you do to go about putting one in place?
I don't, I'm sorry, but I would talk to other towns or representatives that have done that, such as Uxbridge or Charlton, or some of these towns that have done that, and just ask what they've learned from it, and some of the errors they've made, and what might be the best transition to do it. I think just talking to other people, like maybe Chief Wayner from Dudley, they moved in to the new police station a few years ago, and just get some ideas, and certainly take it under advisement, and try to formulate the best plan to do that.
Thank you. Is there anything in closing you'd like to add?
once again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was, the process that we went through, I thought was beneficial. It was good. I learned some things from it, so.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening.
Hey, it's happening, Sarge.
Good evening. As I've explained with previous candidates, we did the selection process based alphabetically, so you weren't first, you weren't second, you get last reps. And the process essentially will be, I'll give you an opportunity to give an introductory statement about yourself to the board. Then we'll have a question and answer session, and then I'll give you an opportunity to make any closing remarks or comments based upon the question and questions in the interview.
Sure. Well, most of you know me. Been a member of the town for quite a few years. I'm married for 23 years, have a son, 18 years old, and been a member of the department since 1983.
Okay, great. And having said that, I'd call on Selectman Lamountain for his questions.
Thank you. Sergeant Sad, if you were appointed the chief, what would be the first change you make to OPD?
The first change I would make is I would like to open up the lines of communication a little bit more, have routine, regular staff meetings to make sure that issues that are taking place on all shifts are addressed and, by the supervisors on those shifts coming through the staff meeting. So I would like to see more open lines of communication.
Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Coonan?
Thank you. Good evening, Sergeant.
Good
I
evening.
do have a series of questions. With the change in leadership, each chief brings a new vision and mission. In my series of questions, I aim to ask you your goals and vision for our police department. First question being, some departments have sergeants closer to the patrol officers. Others have the sergeants closer to management. Where do you see the sergeants?
I see the sergeants closer to the patrol officers. I think it's important to be in touch with the guys on the line doing the job on a day-to-day basis, so that information can filter from them back through the top. So I feel it's crucial that the sergeant's close to the patrol.
Thank you.
And at the same time, the sergeant has to have the presence of mind that he is accountable to management. So he obviously would have to be in touch with Lieutenant Chief of Police on a regular basis, whatever that administrative structure is.
Thank you. Secondly, if hired, what would be your first order of business?
My first order of business would be to call a departmental meeting, meet with all the staff, meet with the patrol, meet with the civilian dispatch, and listen to their concerns, because I think you need to be open-minded when it comes to that, so you can address those problems and those concerns through your people. You have to have an active listening process, really, in order to know what's going on in your department.
Okay. And lastly, name 3 things you would demand of the men and women of OPD.
I would demand loyalty to the police department and to its members. I would expect them to follow the rules and regulations that have been set forth from the department. And I would ask that they come in and put their best foot forward every day and do the job to the best of their ability with the utmost integrity.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Glamp?
I just have one, Tony. With regards to the number and rank of officers, do you feel that Oxford is where it needs to be in numbers?
I feel that we could use a few more patrols, additional patrol, maybe rearrange the rank structure from 4 sergeants to a chief, lieutenant, 3 sergeants, and, possibly 19, 20 patrolmen. I could see us moving in that direction, especially with the expansion that's taking place in the town, the increase in business, with the Sutton Ave construction and what's going on over there with the Home Depot and maybe more restaurants coming in. We're going to have to dedicate and deploy more resources to that area of town itself, not to mention the activity in the north end with Walmart, Route 20, and that whole area, so.
And why do you think we need a lieutenant?
I think a lieutenant could make the information flow and problem management within a department easier to manage, where, like Selectman Coonan questioned earlier, I think the sergeant should be in touch with the patrol on a regular basis to understand those problems and concern. I think the lieutenant could be a buffer between the sergeant and the chief of police to really monitor those sergeants closely on a regular basis, report back to the chief of police, and actually help the chief of police in the day-to-day operations of the police department, where the chief of police would be distracted on other issues, community issues, meeting with the seniors, meeting with the Board of Selectmen, addressing your concerns. So the lieutenant could really remove the chief from a lot of the mundane, day-to-day responsibilities in the police department.
Thanks, Tony, that's all I have.
Thank you. Selectman Sad.
My first question, Tony, is a hypothetical. You are the chief of police, and a town resident comes up to you and says, I understand that the town and the police department is trying to move forward to build a brand-new police station. Now, times are tough, we pay enough in taxes. Do we really need a police station at this time? How do you respond to that?
I would respond to that by simply inviting them to the police station and letting them walk around and get a first-hand look of the conditions that we're working in. With law enforcement and where it's heading in the future, with technology and advances, that building, quite frankly, can't get it done. We have civilians walking past area where people are being booked. In its day, it was fine in the 70s when it wasn't as busy, but now that we're moving forward with more people coming into town, more businesses, I would try to make the case to that person that we definitely do need a new police department just to keep up with future trends. This building can't do it for us.
Okay. My next question is, what would you say is the most important aspect of being the chief of police, of the job?
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier, and it may sound redundant, but I think open communication is the key. I think your people need to know what's going on in the department. Your people need to know which direction you want to take this police department, and you need to make them stakeholders in that endeavor. They need to be involved. Chief of police can't do the job all by himself, and that's what that individual has to recognize. He needs the help from his staff, from the people, everybody from the bottom up, dispatchers all the way up to the top, need to be involved. Those people would have great ideas that they could recommend to the chief of police, and the chief has to be open to that. Not saying that, the buck obviously stops with him, but he should be open-minded and listen to everybody's ideas.
Okay. My final question, actually, is pretty much of what you've added, but I'm going to put it out there. How would you communicate with all shifts? It's a 24/7 operation, unlike other departments in the community. How does that communication between shifts, the administration, the sergeants, and the patrolmen on all shifts, including the third?
I think it's crucial that all shifts get the information equally that's imparted by the chief of police. I think regular staff meetings, whether they're, monthly or as-needed basis, if a crucial issue comes up with the police department, that is filtered out through the sergeants back to the patrol. It involves, at roll call, having your sergeants sit down with your people and imparting that information from the chief of police. It may involve a department-wide meeting if something major is happening within the department to get that information out. But it is crucial that all shifts are operating, I feel, like the same way. First, second, third, and like this 24/7 operation. So, and again, that's why communication is key, and those open lines of communication, those channels have to be open.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. I just have two brief questions. The first one is a word association question, and when I ask you the question, what do you think about the town of Oxford? What kind of words, what comes to mind?
In general,
Yes.
The town of Oxford, I think of it as a quaint community, I guess, and maybe that might sound kind of corny, but I do.
You are talking to the corn man's daughter, that sounds just fine.
Okay. I think we have a great community here. We're fortunate to have the makeup of people that we have in the town to make it run on a day-to-day basis. I think the town departments coordinate well with each other. I've had many positive interactions with the citizens of this town, and I would say 95% of those interactions have been positive experiences. That's what I like about this town and working here versus working in the city of Boston or a large city. I don't know if I'm cut out for that type of work, but in a community like ours, I enjoy it because I get a lot of positive feedback from the people that I deal with. And it's not all bad. You know, we can have positive encounters here. And that's what that's the way I go and try to do the job, is to make every encounter a positive one. And that's what I try to impart to the guys on my shift, too, is to try to, walk away from that situation, people feel good about how you handle it and feel good about not only the way the officer handled it, but they have a good feeling about the Oxford Police Department in general.
Good. And secondly, you may not have, I realize that this question needs to evolve as I've asked it twice prior this evening, so bear with me. Do you have a transition plan in place to move the department into a new building if and when that building is complete? And if you don't have a plan in place, which is understandable, what would you do to put a plan in place?
Well, I don't have a plan in place because I haven't been involved in the building committee or any other issues, but a plan in place as far as just to make the move from one building to the other?
Correct.
Or, I don't know, what I would try to do is just, I'm sure it would be an exciting time for everybody in the police department to move from that building to a new facility. And I would venture to say that a lot of the people within the department would be more than anxious to help out in making that happen. So I think we would get a lot of volunteerism right through the ranks and follow the police department itself, not to mention some citizens that may want to step forward and help. It would be an exciting time for not only us, but everybody in the town. And I would welcome anybody who wanted to come and help us with that move to step up.
Excellent. Okay, that's all I have. Do you have any closing comments or anything you'd like to add?
I do have a comment, and I guess what I'd like to say is that combined, all three candidates sitting before you tonight have over 70 years of law enforcement experience. Over the years, and more recently, we've all worked well together. We've shared information and ideas liberally with one another in the spirit of cooperation to move this department forward. And I'm sure that I can speak for Sergeant Boss, Sergeant Hassett, in saying that this spirit of mutual cooperation is going to continue regardless of your decision tonight on who this candidate's going to be. Because after all is said and done, we will have the same working relationship that we had prior to this evening. And we will all work together and share information and ideas, because I think we all share the same vision for the Oxford Police Department.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think we'll, at this time, we'll take it under advisement. I think I'd like to, without the board's objection, transition into the town manager's report, give everybody an opportunity to collect their notes and let him do his report, do selectmen's requests, and then take a very brief recess and come back and take a vote unless there's some objection to that. Okay?
Thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity to interview. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, board members. We've received the resignation of Ms. Joanne Summers from the Fire EMS Department, effective January 31st, 2008. Ms. Summers has served the department for over 20 years. It's my understanding that the reason for her retirement has to do with the new schedule for dispatchers, which goes to a 4-and-2 arrangement, and it would not allow her to continue with the Fire EMS extra duties. Appointments. Request the board vote to appoint Mr. Tomas Khrushchevsky of 12 Hill Court, Dudley, Massachusetts, and Mr. Kyle Wheaton, 15 Leicester Street, North Oxford, Mass., as constables until the May 2008 annual town annual town election. Mr. Khrushchevsky was a constable in Worcester before moving to Dudley, and wishes to serve the surrounding towns. You may recall that he attended last week's meeting. Mr. Wheaton met previously with the members of the board for signatures. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, discussion. Just a question to the clerk, have we received all appropriate paperwork as far as queries and other application documents? Yes, we have, she's confirming, thank you for that. Any further questions? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
We received an application last week from Mr. John Fortin, who is here tonight, to be on the North Oxford Sewer Study Committee. Mr. Fortin lives within the sewer service area and therefore meets the minimum requirement for membership on the committee. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Fortin is here, would you like to come forward, sir? And I guess that's not a hot seat anymore, if you want to sit there and maybe introduce yourself to the board. And
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm John Fortin. I live up on 24 Maple Ave in North Oxford. I've been there for 23 years. And I just think it's kind of a very important thing. I know there's a lot of contradictory things going on in our North Oxford end about the sewer study and the committee and so on and so forth. Some good, I think, and some bad. So I just think, I don't know whether my 2 cents will help or not help, but I know they, I've been coming to the meeting since September, and I just feel that, maybe I can help out a little bit with my, what I think or what I don't think. I live in a neighborhood that's a very close-knit neighborhood, a lot of older people, a lot of older houses up there, and as such, I mean, probably nobody's septic systems will pass, or, and I know it's very costly to have them done, and so I think it's in my mind, I think it's a very good thing to have it, to try to get the sewer done up in our area, and that's why I'm here.
great, I'd entertain, excuse me, I'd entertain a motion to appoint
So moved.
Mr. Fortin. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Selectman the Mountain.
It's interesting to hear you call those houses older when, I consider my aunts and uncles that built them. They are old houses now, and there's a lot of old technology down there. And you're right, the area is tight, and I know the whole area has problems. I was surprised last week when you applied. I was glad to hear that you've attended the meetings.
Yes.
It is important. I know that Beverly Street was recently completed.
Yep.
There's other areas in town, in the north end of town, that need some help. So I'd like to see that capacity get looked at and utilized, and I appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you. Selectman Coonan?
Just quickly, thank you for your volunteerism. I think Hank hit a lot of good points. But the key point is, and a lot of the candidates talked about that tonight, one of my selectmen's requests, is your willingness to serve the community, to come out and do the extra mile, to educate yourself on the issue, what's at hand. And as you said, there's people saying this, people saying that, and I really like your attitude, that you want to come in and you want to work with them and find out what's best for the town. So thank you for that, Mr. Fortin.
Thank you.
I'd just
Call.
like to say ditto. It's nice to see people come forward and be part of the community, and I certainly welcome your efforts.
Very good.
Thank you.
No call for the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, board members. I'd just like to take this opportunity again to remind viewers that the last day for voter registration for the Massachusetts state primary that will be held on Tuesday, February 5th, the last day for registration is tomorrow, January 16th. The town clerk's office will be open until 8 p.m. tomorrow for the convenience of residents. We have a request, Madam Chairman, from the Democratic Town Committee. We received a request from Mr. J. Bose to reserve the Board of Selectmen Meeting Room for Saturday, February 2nd at 9 a.m. for the purpose of a Democratic Town Committee meeting. This caucus will not be televised. Pleasure of the board.
I'd entertain a motion to allow that request.
So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
Thank you. You'll recall that Mr. Conrad Farland had requested the approval of an administrative change to his Class II license. The name of his business will be Conrad's Auto Sales Incorporated. He's incorporating the business, and the new president will be his daughter, Miss Linda Dixon. In your mail packet on January 11th, you received a copy of Ms. Dixon's query results and a copy of the Secretary of State's paperwork for incorporation. Pleasure of the board.
I'd entertain a motion to allow that request.
So moved?
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Yes. 4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention, motion carries.
And finally, we have a special permit for earth removal. This is an FYI. We received a request today from Mr. Alfred Dowell Jr. for the renewal of earth removal permit at 19 Oxbow Road. I'm going to read from the zoning bylaw, which is Chapter 18, Section 8 of the Town of Oxford zoning bylaw states that, quote, "Upon application for a renewal of a special permit, the board may, in its discretion, grant 3 renewals for periods of up to 3 additional years each, without a public hearing, provided, however, that the board has given notice of such application by advertisement in a newspaper of general circulation in the town and by certified mail postage prepaid to all abutters, as they appear on the most recent tax list, and that no written notice of objection by any abutter to such renewal has been filed with the town clerk within 21 days of giving such notice. Therefore, I request the board advertise in the newspaper and follow the process as written. Pleasure of the board.
I'd entertain a motion to schedule that hearing.
So moved?
I'll second it for discussion.
Seconded for discussion, Selectman Coonan.
Thank you. Now, Joe, reading into this and seeing the history of problems, violations, and the impact that it has on him and his neighbors, the abutters up there, if no one files an appeal for this, is it automatically granted?
No. No, if I may, it's not. That's why I read the wording, I quoted the wording, "The board may," so it's permissive, it's not automatic.
But we can, though.
You
We
can,
will.
but you don't have, it's not automatic.
We don't have to grant it either, then.
No, you don't have to grant it. That's what may means.
I understand, I know, what it means, yeah. I'm just trying to read through this and see what we're buying here
Yeah.
with this.
But I think if we advertise it, at this point, we don't have any new comments. I'm sure we will have them, and then you'll have all of the procedurally correct steps and complete.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Lamountain.
If I'm not mistaken, the motion that you asked be made was for a public hearing, correct?
But to-
We would still bring them forward and
We'll
have the
bring
public
them
hearing.
forward, that's right.
That's absolutely correct, and all the
Yes.
butters will be notified, and all those areas will be covered, because there was some outrage about the way that this earth removal permit is utilized, has been used in the past, and I want to give those neighbors and abutters full opportunity to vet this issue. Come in here and point out whatever new complaints they have, old complaints that haven't been addressed, so we're going to have a full-blown hearing on it.
I think we'd want to, your clerk and I talked about it earlier today. Given the holiday on February 18th, you might want to schedule a session for the 26th. Is that correct? February 26th?
Just to give the notice a 21-day period.
Yeah, they have to make comments, so we may want to schedule the public hearing within the 21-day notice period so they can make their comments. No, the bylaw says it has to be filed with the town clerk.
Wouldn't it be 21 days after public hearing, after we have the hearing? It's not 21 days from, like, today.
No, it wouldn't be 21 days from today, no.
It's after the
21
hearing.
days after they receive notice of his request. So we will send them notice of this request. They have 21 days to then object. So then you want to consider the objections, have him come in, and then deal with it.
Yeah,
Give
so
them
it
opportunity
has
to
to
come
be
in.
21, we can't schedule the hearing before the 21-day period is up.
That's right.
And it's from the time that we vote to have the hearing, I believe that that includes the 21-day notification period to appeal.
Right, so why don't we make sure that we do it
far enough in
How about
advance.
the first week in March? What's that look like?
4/11.
March 4th is fine. And there's nothing preventing this board from addressing any concerns that are brought to light, whether it's in the form of an objection or not, as far as I'm concerned. We have a, pretty substantial history
Well,
on
we want to
this.
consider whether he's meeting the requirements of the existing
Absolutely,
permit.
absolutely. So why don't we schedule that for March 4th? Thank you. Actually, call for the vote to
Yes.
schedule that public hearing for March 4th.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, board members. That completes my report.
Thank you. Selectmen's request, Selectman Lamountain.
I'm all set, Jim.
Thank you. Selectman Coonan.
Mine was only on volunteerism, and I think what we saw tonight in our fine candidates was talk about volunteerism. I think Mr. Fortin was a great example of volunteerism. It's something that this town was built on and will continue to thrive, with people taking the extra step to find ways to help out. There are ample opportunities. There's numerous vacancies on boards and committees. The senior center, the library, the community center, your schools are looking for volunteers. If you have a particular skill, a knack, or interest, just want to get involved, there's an avenue for you. I think by contacting myself, probably members of the board, the town manager's office, community center, I think we can find something somewhere that you can fit in and really help this community. So volunteerism, give it a try. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Glant.
First, I'd like to thank Ellie Olson for the article she wrote last week on the golf course. Or was it this week? Last week. I think it's a very important issue, and it was a very well-written article and brings out information on that, and I thought it was well done. Thank you. And the second thing is, Joe, I'd like to know where we are on snow removal, the snow removal budget.
I'll find out.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
I have
Thank you.
nothing this
Selectman
evening.
Said. I just have two brief items. And the first deals with the budget update as we approach. It seems far away, but it's really not as far as our planning and preparation for the upcoming May budget. I know the town manager is working on his proposed budget, and I'm wondering when we can anticipate a glimpse of that in the next coming weeks.
How about February 6th?
Okay?
I'll present the budget then. I think we've already scheduled, Madam Chairman, the joint session with the Finance Committee.
On February 6th?
Wednesday.
Are we going to get that budget in advance of that date?
If I can, I will.
Okay, that would be something that I'd look forward to having it in advance, at least a couple days in advance. I'm obviously not weeks at this point, given where we are in January, but even 3 or 4 days would be helpful so we can go through that and be prepared for that meeting instead of just kind of going along with the numbers. We'll have questions and be able to formulate questions that make sense. And secondly, I also had just a quick comment on the Pine Ridge Country Club article that was written. I also wanted to say that I thought it was very well done. The history as far as what other communities have done to salvage their golf courses, I thought was a nice touch to it. And I want to, again, just applaud the committee who put in countless hours in speaking with the chairman of that committee off and on throughout their work. There were individuals who went out and just went way above and beyond what was asked of them, and that included applying their expertise. We had somebody who worked for the Commonwealth and used his knowledge and expertise and wherewithal in his capacity as a number cruncher for the state, essentially, to come up with some numbers. We had people who visited golf courses, talked to people in clubhouses, and got numbers about how you could make this work from a dollars and cents standpoint, which is what it really boiled down to for the town, and may someday boil down to for the town. So all that work, the open space, we had a gal on the committee who studied the open space issue and brought, hours and hours of work to the table. Mr. Bunn, who was a super at a golf course, he was on the committee. Mr. DuPont, Mr. Garvey, I don't want to forget anybody, and on and on and on. So they really, really put together a comprehensive packet of information that we were able to sit across the table. I know the manager worked hard on this as well, and look Pulte in the eye and their representatives and say, we've got the information, and we've got the time, because it's still in litigation. So, and also, I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate the people of the community, because at town meeting, this was a big initiative that was brought forward, and it seemed to me that the people in the town, though they didn't endorse it, they didn't shoot it down. They were open-minded about it, and they gave this community committee an opportunity to do what they needed to do. So the work, there's still yet much work that needs to be done. However, this I thought was a victory for the town, and I want to congratulate all those involved, including, as I said, the town manager who came on board and really, focused on this with all the other stuff he had to transition into. So, good job all around, and certainly to my colleagues who supported the foundation of that committee. So, good job all around. That is all I have. At this time, I would entertain a motion to take a 3 or 4 minute break, let everybody look at their notes, and come back in and take a vote if we're all prepared to do that, which I would hope we would be, given the time frame we've had to review this information. Take a vote on the appointment, and then I'd ask the board to go into executive session under Section 3 of the Open Meeting Law to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's bargaining or litigating position. So at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to take a 3-minute break.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. We are in a brief recess. Thank you.
That's where Sue went. Really? Huh? I already did. I filed it last week. Before I sent it to Copeland Page, and they reviewed it and said it was okay to file with the town clerk. If it's, you don't see it.
You were listening? Are we gonna hold hands now? Try co-chief. Try basketball.
Well, then, you know, I was thinking,
What is it?
Plus, we have about 4 degrees out, too. It'd be cold. Yeah, that's good.
I didn't think it was gonna, you could have played that last Sunday.
That would have been
With Pacers.
But the father flipping a coin in between.
Huh?
Manning versus Manning with Archie flipping the coin.
Oh, God.
Imagine that.
No, I'm glad Peyton gets to sit down and look at you like, hey, bro, I admit, you did it. Maybe I could be on all those commercials now.
Well, dude, there was a thing on that. You realize Peyton has a great star appeal.
Oh, yeah.
Eli's got nothing because his personality is like,
But he'll get there.
he's a hick. And
Let him
he's
get
4
there.
years younger.
Let him take us on in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just kick his ass the way it deserves, okay, but go grow up a little more.
Right.
And then he'll get there. And I see Brady Quinn, for Christ's sake, already doing his commercials. Notre Dame's quarterback from last year. I'm like, look at
So he hasn't
boy.
played it down yet.
No shit, it's like Yahoo.
Oh, yeah.
Yahoo.
Oh, yeah. Tiki Barber's all hates Eli. He did his thing, he goes like, this guy's a leader? We used to laugh at him in a locker room when he said something. He goes, how do we call our own place?
I'm telling you, I look at this and I say, yeah, I just hope, honestly, that we go all the way. Okay, Miami, you got history. History 72 is a long time.
Mercury Morris, all those guys. Who's he to spout off?
Let's do it. Let's shut up. It kills me when I'm watching we're making history, we're on all 3 freaking networks at the same time, and they're showing fucking Peyton Manning commercials. I'm like, give my Tom Brady some respect.
And they bring Don Shula in the box.
Yes, that's like, what is this?
Do you watch the game, the other one? The Colts game, did you watch that?
The Colts and the Chargers.
Yeah. See at halftime, they did that poor 11-year-old girl from New Hampshire?
No, I don't watch halftime. I go to other shows. It's like, I don't want to watch them morons.
She won the punt, pass, and kick championship, so they honor them all there.
I saw
New
kids
Hampshire
get trophies.
Yeah, she had her shirt on, they booed her.
Oh, no kidding.
Booed an 11-year-old
I
girl.
didn't see that. Jerks.
That's how bad is that, you know? I don't, there's a big debate. Would Boston fans do that?
No, I still think Boston. I remember when Larry Bird came back as the coach or whatever the hell that team was. He walked into the garden and he got what was it, a 6-minute standing ovation. And the chant was, he may be your coach, but he's our hero or something, you know? And it was like so nice for him to come back into that.
Roger Clemens, Johnny Damon, Fisk, they all took off for the money. They came back and they applied.
Yep. You ready?
Time being 8:17, I will call the meeting back to order. And at this time, I would entertain motions for promotion to the position of Chief of Police. Selectman Coonan.
Madam Chair, I would so move the name of Michael J. Boss for the position of Chief of Police, citing reasons of greater command experience, greater breadth of assignments in comparison to the other 2 fine officers candidates came through, and with that, also the better understanding with that breadth of assignments of our town's police department.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a second discussion. Selectman Glant.
I'd just like to say that I think all 3 are definitely qualified, and we have 3 good choices to make here, but Mike Boss does have seniority. He's been there for a long time and does have the experience that we need.
Thank you, Selectman Sad, then Selectman Lamountain.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, in all the years that I've been interviewing police officers, police sergeants, and police chiefs, this was the most difficult that I've experienced over the 3 decades that I've been involved. Only because we have 3 very, very qualified individuals. Their test scores were tenths of a point separating the 3 of them. I mean, that's how close they were. They virtually got the same score, which really tells you something about how these individuals must have handled that assessment with the in-baskets. I mean, they all had their own way of handling certain situations that were presented to them during that experience, and they all came out that close. And in addition to that, I certainly thought that the 3 candidates all interviewed very well, some slightly better than others, but I certainly wouldn't be ashamed to have either one of the 3 represent this town as the chief of police. However, as my colleague had previously indicated, the 17 more years of command experience just jumped right out at me. The other 2 sergeants had 5 years of command experience. So, you know, 22 years as a sergeant. Mr. Boss was 22 years as a sergeant, and I just think that he has paid his dues. He comes out, in my mind, a little bit better than the other 2 candidates based on the amount of experience and command experience, I should say, that he's had, and the various, how do I put it, various assignments that he had taken charge of, such as court officer, drug task force, being in charge of that, being in charge of investigations, things like that. It was a lot more in-depth than the other 2 candidates. But again, Oxford ought to be proud because we had 3 very qualified individuals, and I will be supporting Sergeant Boss.
Thank you. Whose cell phone is that?
I don't know.
It shall be, do I have an officer in the room who can confiscate that? Selectman Mountain.
Jen, not only as a member of this Board of Selectmen, but as a resident of the town, I feel extremely fortunate having the 3 people in the positions of command that we do. The 2 Mikes and Tony, as John had said, your scores were identical, reading your jackets, very similar. Your abilities, the way you interact with your men, it's all real close. I mean, if something were to happen to the chief that gets appointed today, I know there's 2 other fine people in the lurches who could step right up if need be. 6 months ago, when we appointed you, Mike Boss, as provisional chief, I voted yes, feeling it was in the best interest of the town of Oxford. And tonight I'll do the same with the same confidence in my vote, that I feel you are the more qualified candidate for the reasons as discussed by my 3 colleagues. Welcome aboard. It'll be nice to have you aboard as chief and the others in their positions working with you.
Selectman Coonan?
Thank you. And I know I didn't make the motion. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the outstanding performance of all 3 candidates. The 2 that I did not nominate would make very fine chiefs. They would be excellent chiefs. Again, when it came back to that command experience, it was a pleasure to go through and to see the accolades, to see the letters, the cards, the little pieces that had come in over as part of their personnel record from way back, of the things that they've done to make a difference in this community. And all 3 of you have. You've made a great positive impact in this community, and I'm very proud to call any one of you 3 to be our chief of police. So please keep up the good work, and you brought some great points tonight to the table. I'm sure over the next week or so, you'll see the tape and you'll see some of the others' responses. And I think, as one of our sergeants said at the end, you make a great team. You know, and I want to see continue that teamwork approach that's just made us, really brought us, our department, up to the top, and top notch. We're very proud of every officer down there. So thank you again for going through the process.
Thank you. And just in closing, it's a great honor to sit up here and to have reviewed all of you, interviewed you and reviewed all of your packets. You are all very accomplished professionals in your field, and as has been alluded to, your jackets and letters of support are very, very impressive. And to sit here and have the opportunity to interview 3 candidates of your caliber was truly an honor for me. And to be able to make a selection from such 3 individuals as yourselves it's a daunting task, really it is, because we all know you individually, we know you professionally, and you're all great at what you do. But the flip side of that is, it's a good thing that we're up here trying to pick 1 out of 3 top-notch candidates, because it would be even harder if we were sitting up here trying to pick 1 out of 3 subpar candidates, and we don't have to make that choice tonight. And just knowing how you conduct yourselves in the community, through families and friends, personal interactions, you all conduct yourself with the utmost professionalism, and you serve our community, you serve our department, and you serve all the people of Oxford with great pride and distinction. So, the choice is a difficult one, but it's a positive one. I, too, will be supporting the motion, and for all the reasons that my colleagues have alluded to, in addition to the points that I've made. And I think that I would be remiss if I didn't comment on Sergeant Sad's wrap-up comments as far as congratulating all the candidates and all of their achievements, and how whatever happens tonight, you're going to leave here, and whoever the chief will be, he's going to move the department forward, and whoever his wingmen are, you're going to continue to move the department forward in a positive way. So having said that, there is a motion on the floor. I will, unless there's further discussion, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief.
Congratulations, Chief Boss.
No, Chief, if you'd like to say anything,
Yes, I would.
we'd certainly yield the floor.
I appreciate your confidence. It was, the last 6 months has been a pleasure working with the people, as you said, as Tony must have told you, we do work well as a team. Whoever you would pick tonight would have done a great job. I'm confident of that. And going back now, we have a lot of work to do. The enormity of your trust and what we have to do, it weighs heavily on you. And I'm really cognizant of that, and I can't wait to get back and get started. So,
Great.
thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief.
Okay, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the section of this executive session open meeting law that I skipped over because it's so lengthy every time we go in under Section 3. I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session under Section 3 of the open meeting law to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's bargaining or litigating position, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, to conduct collective bargaining, and to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And I'd entertain that motion with the understanding that we'd be coming out of executive session for the sole purpose of adjourning the meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, we will be going into executive session, coming out for the sole purpose of adjourning. Thank you.